They said no one could handle him. The Vampire King's only son, born in darkness, raised in silence. Every tutor, every guardian, every priest who tried disappeared within a week. He wasn't cruel, just cold, as if nothing human could reach him. Until one night at a small diner on the edge of town, he walked in, alone, hooded, and sat at the same table every night without saying a word. The waitress noticed him, the way he never touched his food, the way the air seemed to freeze when he smiled. Most people would have stayed away. She didn't. Instead, she brought him a cup of warm milk and said softly, "You look like you haven't been home in a while." For the first time in centuries, the Prince of Darkness blinked. Something inside him, something long dead, began to stir. Stay with me until the end, because what she did next didn't just change him, it changed everything his father built in blood. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Now, let's get into it. The Moonlight Diner sat, let's get into it, on Highway 12 like a forgotten promise. Red vinyl booths cracked from decades of use. Coffee that tasted like burnt hope. The kind of place truckers stopped at 3 in the morning when nowhere else would take them. Maya Rodriguez had worked the graveyard shift for 2 years. She knew every regular by their order. Coffee black for Jerry the trucker. Pie and decaf for Mrs. Henderson, who couldn't sleep since her husband died. Scrambled eggs and toast for the college kids stumbling home from parties. But she'd never seen him before that Tuesday night in October. He walked through the door at exactly midnight. Tall, maybe 6'2", wearing a black hoodie that shadowed his face completely. His movements were too smooth, too quiet, like he was floating instead of walking. The bell above the door didn't even ring. Maya watched from behind the counter as he slid into booth 7, the corner table where the fluorescent light flickered and died years ago, where most people complained it was too dark to read the menu. He sat perfectly still, hands folded on the table, hood up, waiting. Maya grabbed the coffee pot and approached. The closer she got, the colder the air became. Her breath nearly misted in the sudden chill. "Coffee?" she asked, forcing her voice steady. He looked up, just slightly, enough for her to catch a glimpse of his face in the shadow. Pale skin stretched over sharp cheekbones, eyes that reflected the distant kitchen light like mirrors. "Water," he said. His voice was soft, careful, like he was testing each word before it left his mouth. She poured ice water into a glass. Her hands didn't shake, though they should have. Something about him made every survival instinct she had scream warnings. But louder than fear was curiosity. "Menu?" she offered. He nodded once. Maya set the laminated menu beside his water and stepped back, pretended to wipe down nearby tables, stealing glances at the strange customer who'd turned booth 7 into his own private shadow. 20 minutes passed. He hadn't touched the water, hadn't opened the menu, just sat there like a statue carved from midnight. "Ready to order?" Maya tried again. "Soup," he said without looking up. "Whatever you have." They had chicken noodle, canned, heated in the microwave, nothing special. Maya brought it anyway, along with crackers and a spoon. He stared at the bowl like it contained poison. Steam rose between them, the only warm thing at the table. "First time here?" Maya asked. Though she knew the answer, she'd remember him. Anyone would remember him. "Yes. Passing through town?" A pause. Something like that. Maya waited for more. When nothing came, she moved away, giving him space. But she kept watching. The soup went untouched. The water remained full. He sat motionless until exactly 2 in the morning, then left 320s on the table and disappeared into the night. The next night, same time, same table, same order, same routine. By the 4th night, Maya had theories. Drug dealer meeting clients. Witness protection hiding from enemies. Art student working on some weird performance piece. By the 7th night, she stopped theorizing and started caring. He looked thin, not just slim, but hollow, like something essential was missing from inside him. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. His clothes hung loose, expensive fabric on a frame that seemed to be slowly disappearing. Maya had seen enough broken people in her 26 years to recognize the signs. Her little brother after their parents died. Her ex-boyfriend during his worst drinking days. People who'd forgotten how to take care of themselves. "You're not eating," she said on night 8, setting down his untouched soup. "Not hungry. When's the last time you ate anything?" He looked up then, really looked at her for the first time. His eyes were gray, the color of storm clouds, and ancient in a way that didn't match his face. "I don't remember," he said quietly. Maya felt something crack inside her chest. She'd spent 2 years serving people who were just passing through. Strangers with their own problems and destinations. She'd perfected the art of polite distance. But this boy, because that's what he was under all the shadows and stillness, was disappearing right in front of her. "What's your name?" she asked. "Adrian." E'd into the seat Maya. She SL across from him. "And I'm going to ask you something that's probably none of my business." Adrian tilted his head, waiting. "Are you okay?" The question hung between them like a bridge neither knew how to cross. Adrian's hands, pale and long-fingered, trembled slightly before he clasped them together. "I don't know," he said finally. "I haven't been okay for a very long time." Maya had heard confessions before. The diner at night drew people who needed to talk, to someone, anyone, about the weight they carried. But something in Adrian's voice made her believe this was the first time he'd spoken those words aloud. "How long?" she asked gently. 87 years. Maya blinked. It should have been funny. A joke from someone who looked barely old enough to drink. But the way he said it, flat and factual and tired, made laughter impossible. "That's very specific," she managed. "I keep track." Adrian's fingers traced patterns on the table. "Days since I felt anything. Years since I cared about anything. Decades since anyone cared about me." Maya studied his face. The sharp angles, the too pale skin, the way he seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Crazy people came through the diner all the time. Addicts, drifters, people whose reality had shifted sideways. But Adrian wasn't crazy. He was something else entirely. "Your family?" she asked. "My father." Adrian's voice went flat. "Doesn't understand that I'm broken. Keeps sending people to fix me. Teachers, doctors, priests. They all leave eventually. Why? Because I'm not fixable." He met her eyes again. "I'm empty, Maya. There's nothing inside me worth saving." Maya felt her heart break a little. She'd heard people talk about feeling empty before, but Adrian said it like a medical diagnosis. Final and unchangeable. "Everyone's worth saving," she said softly. "Not everyone." Adrian started to stand. "Thank you for talking to me. You don't have to worry about me anymore." "Wait." Maya reached across the table, her hand covering his before she could think better of it. The moment their skin touched, everything changed. The cold hit Maya like a physical blow, not the gentle chill that had surrounded Adrian for weeks, but something arctic and alive. Her breath misted instantly. The fluorescent lights above flickered and dimmed, but it wasn't the temperature that made her gasp. It was what she saw in Adrian's eyes. For just a moment, they weren't gray anymore. They were silver, bright as moonlight, ancient as starfall, and behind them, something vast and hungry stirred. Adrian jerked his hand away like she'd burned him. The cold vanished. The lights steadied, but Maya's palm tingled where they'd touched, electric and warm. "I have to go," Adrian whispered, backing away from the table. "Adrian, wait!" But he was already moving toward the door with that impossible fluid grace. This time, Maya followed. "You can't just leave," she called, pushing through the diner's front door into the parking lot. Not after that. Adrian stopped beside a motorcycle she hadn't noticed before. Black as midnight, chrome gleaming under the streetlights. Expensive. The kind of bike that cost more than Maya made in a year. "You shouldn't have touched me," he said without turning around. "Why? What happened in there?" Adrian pulled off his hood. Maya's breath caught. His hair was black as his bike, falling across features that belonged in a museum. Classical. Perfect. Too perfect for any human face. "You felt it," he said. "Didn't you?" Maya couldn't lie. The moment their hands connected, something had passed between them. Electric, dangerous, like touching a live wire that somehow didn't hurt. "What are you?" she whispered. Adrian smiled then, the first real smile she'd seen from him in 2 weeks. It was beautiful and terrible and sharp enough to cut glass. "Something you should run from," he said. Maya stepped closer instead. "I don't run." "You should. My father built an empire on fear. I'm his heir, his weapon, his greatest disappointment." Adrian's voice carried centuries of exhaustion. "Everyone runs eventually." "I'm not everyone." Adrian studied her face in the streetlight. Maya felt exposed, like he could see straight through her skin to whatever made her tick. "No," he said quietly. "You're not." He swung his leg over the motorcycle. The engine roared to life, deeper than any normal bike, like thunder trapped in metal. "Will you come back tomorrow?" Maya asked. Adrian paused, one hand on the throttle. "Do you want me to?" Maya thought about the smart answer, the safe answer, the answer that would keep her world small and predictable. "Yes," she said instead. Adrian's smile softened, almost human. "Then I will." He rode into the darkness, taillights disappearing around the bend. Maya stood in the empty parking lot, her hands still tingling from their touch, wondering what she'd just gotten herself into. The next morning, Maya's manager found her asleep in booth 7. She'd meant to go home after her shift, but something kept her there. The lingering cold, the memory of silver eyes, the certainty that everything had changed. "Long night?" Danny asked, sliding a cup of coffee across the table. Maya wrapped her hands around the mug, grateful for the warmth. "You could say that. That guy in the corner booth? The one who never eats?" "Adrian." "Right. Weird name." Danny wiped down the table with practiced efficiency. "He's been coming in for what, 2 weeks now? Never seen him before that." 3 weeks tomorrow," Maya corrected. Danny raised an eyebrow. "You keeping track?" Maya didn't answer. She couldn't explain that she'd started marking Adrian's visits on her calendar. Couldn't admit that she'd been researching cold spots and unexplained phenomena online during her breaks. "Just be careful," Danny said, his voice gentler. "I've seen enough people come through here to know when someone's carrying darkness." "That boy? He's carrying more than most." Maya nodded, but she didn't promise to be careful. Careful was overrated. Careful was what kept people safe and small and unchanged. That night, Adrian arrived at exactly midnight. Same routine, same table, same order. But when Maya brought his soup, she also brought something else. A thermos of hot chocolate. Real chocolate, not the powdered mix they served customers. Made with milk and cream and a touch of cinnamon. Her grandmother's recipe. "What's this?" Adrian asked. "Something warm," Maya said, sitting across from him. "You look like you could use it." Adrian stared at the thermos like it contained holy water. "I don't drink hot chocolate." "When's the last time you tried?" 1847. Maya blinked. There he went again with the impossible dates. But she was starting to believe them. "That's a long time to go without chocolate," she said. "I don't taste things the way you do." Adrian's fingers drummed against the table. "Food is just texture. Warmth is just temperature. I exist, but I don't experience." Maya unscrewed the thermos cap, releasing the rich scent of chocolate and spice. "Try it anyway." "Maya." "One sip. What's the worst that could happen?" Adrian laughed, short and bitter. "You don't want to know." But he reached for the cup anyway. His pale fingers wrapped around the ceramic, and Maya watched his face as he brought it to his lips. The change was immediate. His eyes widened, his breath caught. For a moment, he looked exactly like what he was underneath all the shadows and centuries. A young man tasting chocolate for the first time. "I can taste it," he whispered. Wonder crept into his voice. "I can actually taste it. Is that unusual?" "I haven't tasted anything in 87 years." Adrian took another sip, then another. "How is this possible?" Maya watched him drink her grandmother's hot chocolate like it was liquid gold. Whatever Adrian was, wherever he'd come from, this was the most human she'd ever seen him. "Maybe you're not as broken as you think," she said softly. Adrian set down the empty cup and looked at her. Really looked at her, like he was seeing her for the first time. What are you doing to me? He asked. Caring about you, Maya said simply. Adrian went very still. That's dangerous. Why? Because, Adrian's voice dropped to a whisper, the last person who cared about me disappeared. My father made sure of it. Maya felt ice in her veins. What do you mean? He doesn't like distractions, complications, people who make me feel human. Adrian's eyes flashed silver again. He's been watching us, Maya. Every conversation, every moment. He knows about you. Let him know. Maya's jaw set with stubborn determination. I'm not going anywhere. You don't understand what you're saying. Then explain it to me. Adrian was quiet for a long moment, staring at his hands. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of centuries. My father is the vampire king of the Eastern Territories. He rules through fear, power, and absolute control. I'm his only heir, his weapon, his insurance that his bloodline continues. Adrian met her eyes. But I've never been what he wanted. Too soft, too human, too much like my mother. What happened to her? She died giving birth to me. A human woman who loved a monster and paid the price. Adrian's smile was sharp with self-hatred. My father spent my childhood trying to burn the humanity out of me. When that failed, he tried isolation. When that failed, he gave up. Maya reached across the table, covering his hand with hers again. This time, she was ready for the cold, the electric shock of connection. You're not a weapon, she said firmly. I've killed people, Maya. Drained them dry because my father commanded it. I am exactly what he made me. No. Maya's grip tightened. You're what you choose to be. Right here, right now. That's all that matters. Adrian stared at their joined hands. He'll come for you. When he realizes you're changing me, making me feel things again, he'll see you as a threat. Then we'll deal with it together. Together. Adrian said the word like he was tasting it. I haven't had it together in a very long time. Maya smiled. Well, you do now. Outside, thunder rumbled across a clear sky. In the distance, something howled. Not a wolf. Something older. Something that had never been human at all. Adrian tensed. He knows. Knows what? That you touched me. That I can taste again. That I'm remembering what it feels like to be alive. Adrian stood, every muscle coiled with sudden urgency. He's coming, Maya. My father is coming. The diner lights flickered and went out completely. Emergency power kicked in, casting everything in a sickly red glow. Maya felt the temperature plummet so fast, her breath came out in visible puffs. Get behind the counter, Adrian commanded, his voice completely different now. Deeper, ancient, carrying an authority that made her bones vibrate. But Maya didn't move. She'd spent too many years running from angry men. I'm not hiding. Maya, please. Adrian's eyes blazed silver in the red light. You don't understand what he's capable of. The front door didn't open. It simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, leaving a rectangular hole filled with swirling darkness. No wind, no sound, just absence made visible. A figure stepped through that impossible doorway. He was tall, easily 7 feet, wearing a black suit that seemed to absorb the emergency lighting. His hair was silver white, pulled back severely, and his face could have been carved from marble by a sculptor who'd never seen mercy. But it was his presence that hit Maya like a physical blow. Power so absolute it made the air itself bow down. Adrian. His voice filled the diner without being loud. Come. Adrian stepped protectively in front of Maya. Father. The vampire king's eyes, pale as winter ice, shifted to Maya. She felt his gaze like fingers made of frost, probing, measuring, dismissing. This is the distraction. It wasn't a question. This is what's been poisoning your mind. Her name is Maya, Adrian said quietly, and she's under my protection. The king laughed. It sounded like breaking glass. Your protection? You protect nothing, boy. You are nothing. A disappointment wrapped in flesh that should have died with your weak human mother. Maya felt Adrian flinch beside her. 87 years of that voice, those words, cutting him down piece by piece. Don't talk to him like that, Maya said. The temperature dropped another 10 degrees. The king's attention fixed on her completely now, and Maya understood why people disappeared when they got too close to Adrian. This creature didn't just command fear. He was fear, distilled into human shape. The mortal speaks. The king stepped closer, his footsteps silent on the diner floor. How refreshing. Most humans soil themselves when they see me. I've met worse, Maya said, though her heart hammered against her ribs. Have you? The king smiled, revealing teeth too sharp to be human. Tell me, little waitress, what makes you think you can fix what I spent centuries breaking? I'm not trying to fix anything. I'm just treating him like he matters. The king stopped 3 feet away. This close, Maya could see he wasn't breathing, could smell something metallic and old clinging to his expensive suit. He doesn't matter. He's a tool, a weapon, the heir to a throne built on blood and bone. The king's voice turned conversational, which was somehow worse than threats. Did he tell you how many people he's killed? How many innocents he's drained dry because I commanded it? Maya looked at Adrian. His face had gone perfectly blank, the way it was those first nights in the diner, shutting down, disappearing inside himself. I don't care, she said. You should. The king circled them now, predator assessing prey. Shall I tell you about the family in Baltimore? The children were twins, barely 8 years old. Adrian held them down while I fed. Stop, Adrian's voice cracked. Or the priest in Boston who tried to exorcise him? Adrian laughed while the holy man burned. That's enough, Adrian whispered. Or perhaps you'd like to know about Sarah, the last human who thought she could save him. I turned her into a vampire and made Adrian watch as she lost her mind to blood hunger. Then I made him kill her himself. Adrian made a sound like something dying. Maya saw him crumbling, decades of carefully constructed walls collapsing under his father's words. You're wrong, Maya said clearly. The king paused. Excuse me? You're wrong about him. And son. Whatever he's done, Maya stepped around Adrian, putting herself between father, whoever he used to be. That's not who he is now. Child, you've known him for 3 weeks. I've known him long enough to see what you refuse to. Maya's voice gained strength. He comes to my diner every night and orders soup he never eats because he's forgotten how to take care of himself. He sits alone in the dark because he thinks he doesn't deserve light. He hasn't tasted food in 87 years because you convinced him he doesn't deserve pleasure. The king's eyes narrowed. Sentiment makes him weak. Caring makes him human. And that terrifies you. I'm not terrified by a mortal waitress. No, Maya said, understanding flooding through her. You're terrified by what I represent. Someone who looks at your son and doesn't see a weapon. Someone who touches him and doesn't flinch. Someone who proves everything you've told him about himself is a lie. The king's face went completely still. When he spoke, his voice carried the promise of violence. You have no idea what you're interfering with. Then explain it to me. Adrian is my heir, my legacy. When I am gone, he will rule territories that span half the continent. He will command armies of the undead. He will be responsible for maintaining the balance between the human and supernatural worlds. The king's voice rose. He cannot be weak. He cannot be soft. He cannot care about individual humans more than the greater good. And what if he doesn't want to rule? The question hung in the air like a blade. The king went very, very still. Want is irrelevant. He is what he is. He's your son, Maya said softly. When's the last time you told him you were proud of him? Pride is earned. Love isn't. The king stared at her like she'd spoken a foreign language. Love is weakness. Love is what killed his mother. Love is what will destroy everything I've built if I allow it. Love is what makes life worth living. Life? The king laughed again, bitter and cold. Child, we are not alive. We are preservation, continuation. We exist to maintain order in a world that would tear itself apart without our guidance. Maya looked at Adrian, who was watching their exchange with something like wonder in his silver eyes. Is that what you want? She asked him. To exist without living? I don't know what I want, Adrian said quietly. I haven't been allowed to want anything for so long. Then figure it out. Maya turned back to the king. Give him time to choose. There is no choice. There is only duty. There's always a choice. The king's patience finally snapped. He moved faster than Maya could track, his hand closing around her throat and lifting her off the ground. His grip was iron cold, and she could feel her air being cut off. Enough, he snarled. You will forget this place. Forget my son. Forget everything that happened here, or I will make your death last weeks. Maya couldn't breathe, couldn't speak, but she could still see Adrian, and what she saw there gave her hope. His eyes were blazing silver-white now, and shadows were gathering around him like living things. Let her go, Adrian said. No, father. Adrian's voice carried new weight, new power. Let her go. Now. You would threaten me? Over this mortal? I would do whatever necessary to protect her. The king's grip tightened on Maya's throat. Even if it meant war between us? Even then. For a long moment, father and son stared at each other. Maya felt consciousness starting to slip away, but she forced herself to stay present. This was the moment. Everything changed. The king released her. Maya dropped to the floor, gasping, her throat on fire. You disappoint me, the king said to Adrian. Good, Adrian replied. Your approval was never worth having. The king's face went completely blank. When he spoke again, his voice was barely above a whisper. You have 1 week to come to your senses. 1 week to remember what you are and what you owe me. If you're still playing human after that, I will remove the temptation permanently. He looked down at Maya, who was pulling herself to her feet. Enjoy your week, little waitress. It will be your last. The king walked back toward the impossible doorway. Just before he stepped through, he paused. Adrian, the vampires in the Western Territories have been making moves against our borders. The werewolf packs in Colorado are forming alliances. 3 human hunter organizations have put bounties on our heads. The supernatural world is heading toward war, and they will look to you for leadership when I fall. Then maybe you should stop giving them reasons to want you dead, Adrian said quietly. The king smiled. It was the most terrifying expression Maya had ever seen. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps it's time I reminded the world why they feared me in the first place. He stepped through the darkness and was gone. The doorway sealed itself, leaving only a normal entrance in its place. Maya and Adrian stood in the red emergency lighting, both breathing hard. Are you okay? Adrian asked, gently touching her throat where bruises were already forming. I'm fine. Maya's voice was hoarse but steady. Are you? Adrian was quiet for a long moment. I just declared war on the most powerful vampire in North America. For a human waitress I've known for 3 weeks. Regrets? Adrian smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. None. Maya smiled back, despite everything. So what happens now? Now? Adrian looked toward the door where his father had disappeared. Now we have 6 days to figure out how to survive what's coming. Outside, thunder rolled across the clear night sky. In the distance, something howled again. Closer this time. The war for Adrian's soul had begun. But for the first time in 87 years, the Vampire King's son wasn't facing it alone. The first sign came at dawn. Maya arrived at the diner to find every window frosted over despite the October heat. Ice crystals spread across the glass in patterns too perfect to be natural, too deliberate to be coincidence. Danny stood in the parking lot, staring at the building like it had personally offended him. Power's been out since 4 this morning, he said without looking at her. Repair crew says the lines are fine. Building's fine. Everything's fine except nothing works. Maya touched the front door. The metal handle burned with cold, leaving frost prints where her fingers had been. Maybe we should close today, Danny continued. Place feels wrong, like something died in there. But Maya pushed through the door anyway. The diner was arctic inside, their breath visible in thick clouds. The coffee machine had frozen solid. Ice covered every surface in a thin, glittering shell, except booth 7. That corner table sat untouched by the supernatural winter. Warm. Waiting. He did this, Danny whispered. That boy you've been talking to. This is because of him. Maya wanted to argue, but she couldn't. Adrian had warned her. His father knew about them now. This was just the beginning. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Day 1. 6 more to go. Choose wisely. Maya deleted the message and got to work. If the vampire king thought a little cold would scare her away, he'd clearly never met a waitress who'd worked double shifts in a broken air conditioner during summer heat waves. By noon, she had the diner functional again. Portable heaters from the hardware store. Extension cords running coffee makers off the shop next door. Hot soup warming on a camping stove in the back. When Adrian walked through the door at midnight, she was ready for him. "You came," he said, sliding into booth 7. The surprise in his voice broke her heart. "Did you think I wouldn't? I thought you'd be smart enough to run." Adrian looked around the diner, taking in the makeshift heating setup, the determination written in every improvised solution. "This is because of me. My father's warning." Maya poured hot chocolate from a thermos she'd brought from home. Real chocolate again, made with extra care. "Your father can freeze my building," she said, setting the cup in front of him. "He can't freeze my choice." Adrian wrapped his pale fingers around the warm ceramic. "Maya, you don't understand what you're up against. My father has ruled for over 1,000 years. He's ended bloodlines, toppled kingdoms, started wars that lasted centuries. Good thing I'm not trying to rule anything then." Maya sat across from him. "I'm just trying to care about someone who forgot how to care about himself. Caring about me will get you killed. Not caring about you will get me killed anyway." Maya met his silver eyes steadily. "At least this way. I die for something that matters." Adrian went very still. "I matter?" The question was so quiet, so uncertain, that Maya felt something crack inside her chest. How many times had this boy been told he was nothing more than a weapon? How many years had he spent believing it? "You matter more than anything," she said simply. Adrian's hand trembled around the cup. "I don't know how to do this. How to be someone worth caring about. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be yourself." Myself is a killer, a monster who's spent decades following orders without question. 6 days later, when the vampire king returned expecting submission, he found something that shattered centuries of absolute control. His son standing beside a human waitress who refused to bow. Adrian had chosen love over duty, humanity over darkness. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the king faced something he couldn't break with fear or force. Sometimes the most impossible thing isn't taming a monster. It's helping them remember they were never a monster to begin with.